Jai Swaminarayan. Today let's read the third passage from the second Gadhadā. This passage is titled The Path of Amorousness and the Knowledge of the Atma. Let's dive right into it. The Atma, of course, is the Sanskrit term for the true self. On Shravan Suddhi the 4th, Samvat 1878, or the 2nd of August, 1821, Swami Sri Sahajanandji Maharaj was sitting on a small silken embroidered cloth in front of the mandir of Shri Vasudev Narayan in Dada Kachar's Darbar in Gadhadā. He was dressed entirely in white clothes. At that time, some Paramahansas were singing devotional songs to the accompaniment of a jhanj and murdang, while other Paramahansas, as well as devotees from various places, had gathered before him in an assembly. Then, with a gesture of his eyes, Sriji Maharaj silenced the audience and said, "Those of you who are senior Paramahansas, please come to the front as I wish to speak to you." So saying, Sriji Maharaj continued, "For those who worship God, there are two paths that lead to eminence, and there are also two paths that lead to downfall, all of which I shall now explain. One path is to offer bhakti, loving devotion to God, via the path of amorousness, and the other path is the knowledge of the Atma. Both can lead to eminence, but both can also lead to downfall. Of these, thousands have fallen from the amorous path, with only a few attaining God. Although even the great acharyas, the teachers that have come before us, have encouraged the offering of bhakti via the amorous path, many have been ruined by it, and only a few have benefited. The reason for this is that when God is described in an amorous manner, Radhikaji and Lakshmiji, along with their companions, are also described together with God. When people whom you may be attracted to are described, obviously their physical features are also described. How then can the mind of the person who is describing them possibly remain undisturbed? In fact, the nature of the indriyas, the senses, is such that they only develop affection for those vishayas, those experiences of the senses that are seductive. No person whom you may be attracted to in all of the realms possesses beauty that can match the beauty of Radhikaji or Lakshmiji. These were divine companions of various forms of the divine. Nor is there anyone who has such a sweet voice as theirs. Even the fragrance emanating from their bodies is unrivaled. Thus, upon seeing or hearing about such beauty, how can a person possibly not become infatuated? It is inevitable. Even if a person's mind is only slightly disturbed, they still fall from the path of liberation. Therefore, all of this proves to be a great obstacle for those who worship God via the amorous path. Now, Brahmajñāna, or probably better pronounced, Brahmajñāna. I think I just said that twice the same way, didn't I? I suppose it works that way. Anyway, it's a difficult to pronounce consonant cluster. J and N-Y, Jnān, Brahmajñāna. Anyway, that is to be interpreted to mean knowledge of the Atma. So this can also give rise to the following incorrect understanding, which is the second path that Sriji Maharaj mentioned. Brahman, the ultimate reality, itself assumes the form of Prakriti Purush, primordial nature and consciousness. Then, that Brahman itself assumes the form of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. These are the creator, sustainer, and dissolver of the universe, respectively. Thereafter, Brahman assumes the mobile and immobile forms of creation. Subsequently, Brahman also becomes the jivas, the souls, residing in those mobile and immobile forms of creation. By misunderstanding Brahmajñāna in such a manner, that individual then believes their own jiva, their own soul, to be God, thus causing a breach in upasana, in worship. As a result, they also fall from the path of God. So, in the path of Brahmajñāna, such a breach in upasana is a major obstacle. Why? Because the very God who is to be understood as the cause and master of everything has been insulted. Therefore, one with such understanding should also be known to have fallen from the path of liberation. Although we are parts and parcels of the divine, we can easily feel like that means we are all that it means to be the divine, and thus we look down upon anything that might be conceivably separate from us. So there is a little hook that might catch us in this path of recognizing your true self to be a part of God, lest we develop a God complex. Now, while these two paths do lead to liberation, that is the path of amorousness or knowledge of the Atma, the obstacles along the way are also extremely grave. So what should one do who desires liberation? Please answer this question. All of the Paramhansas then began to think, but no one was able to supply a suitable answer. Sriji Maharaj then said, "The answer to the question is as follows. One's mind does not become infatuated on seeing one's own mother, sister, or daughter." And of course, this also applies to any parent or sibling or child. Even if they are very beautiful. Moreover, even though one may talk with them or even behold them, the mind is not even slightly infatuated. In the same manner, if one were to consider all devotees as of God as one's own parent, sibling, or child, then infatuation would not arise in any way at all. Then by worshipping God via the amorous path, one would attain liberation. However, when a person does not have such understanding and harbors lustful thoughts on seeing some great devotees of God whom they may be attracted to, the person's character becomes gravely blemished. Furthermore, whereas the blemish arising from lustfully looking at other people whom they may be attracted to is eradicated by having the darshan of a devotee of God, no means of eradicating the blemish arising from lustfully looking at a devotee of God is mentioned anywhere in the scriptures. And of course, the same applies regardless of the combination of genders. Thus the verse from the Skand Puran, Anya kshetre krutam papam tirtha kshetre vinashyati tirtha kshetre krutam papam vajralepo bhavishyati. Thank you for putting up with my Sanskrit, which translates to a kind of sins committed elsewhere are destroyed at a place of pilgrimage, but sins committed at a place of pilgrimage are as if etched in iron, i.e., totally irredeemable. Now, of course, that's not entirely true in the sense that a soul is confined to bear a punishment forever, which is not a part of the Sanatana Dharma. Always is there a possibility for moksha, for liberation, in this life or the next, in this universe or the next. So please know that there's always a path forward. The verse means, and Sriji Maharaj gives his own, that sins committed elsewhere can be removed by going to God or a devotee of God. If, however, one commits a sin before God or his devotees, then it is like committing a sin at a place of pilgrimage. It becomes irredeemable, as if etched in iron. Thus, whosoever wishes to worship God via the path of amorousness should, as I have explained, keep their mind pure. Now, on the path of Brahmajñāna, path of ultimate knowledge, one should understand the following manner. Brahman, the ultimate reality, is not subject to change and is indivisible. Thus, it does not undergo change, nor can it be divided. When that Brahman is equated with all forms, it is because that Brahman is the cause of all, Prakriti, Parush, etc. It is their supporter and pervades all through its antaryami powers, the power to dwell within everything. Furthermore, that which is the cause, the supporter, and the pervader cannot be distinct from its effect. It is in reference to this context that the scriptures equate that Brahman with all forms, saying that all this is Brahman. Sarva Kalvidam Brahma. However, one should not believe that Brahman itself undergoes change and assumes the forms of all mobile and immobile beings. Transcending that Brahman is Parabrahman, Purushottam Narayan, who is distinct from Brahman and is the cause, the supporter, and the inspirer of Brahman. With such understanding, one should develop oneness with one's Jivatma, individual self, and with that Brahman, and worship Parabrahman while maintaining a master-servant relationship with him. With such understanding, Brahmajñāna also becomes an unobstructed path to attaining the highest state of enlightenment. So, Sriji Maharaj has explained two such paths to attaining enlightenment or liberation: through amorousness, through love and devotion, and through attainment of knowledge of one's Atma. But there are obstacles in both paths. On the path of amorousness, we have to make sure that we restrain our senses to send love and devotion only to that source, that supreme cause, and not to any particular form that has emanated. That way we don't get attracted to any particular object or person whom we may be infatuated with. And of course, on the path of knowledge, we have to understand that knowledge doesn't imply that somehow we are the ultimate reality in the sense of there being nothing greater than our limited self, because we do have a limited self, and that limited self is a part of something which is unlimited, and you should feel whole in the fact that you are part of something greater, rather than feel like you are that which is greater and everything else is less than. So, thank you for listening. That was the third verse from Gadhadā 2, the second Gadhadā. Jai Swaminarayan.